Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. So just give me a second because I am trying to set this up, and I do want to. Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna get some people, some special guests on the platform. And then let me know if this is following up with me or it's a little delayed. All right, let's go. Let's go. Okay, if you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing. We talk about politics, we talk about geopolitical events, we talk about upcoming world events, we talk about the Mahdi, we talk about the Dajjal, we talk about many different incidents, and we talk about what's going on with Israel and Palestine, and how we connect all these different things. So, with that being said, we have some really special video for you today. Today we talk about Scott Ritter and Hamas will defeat Israel, as well as um, the geography of Israel. So we have two videos, and we're going to try to bring some special guests to discuss different things on the platform. So with that being said, let's play this video. Okay.
Not to destroy the enemy.
That's Hamas. What about the other ones, like Iran and Iran's
Iran's goal was not to destroy Israel. Iran and Hezbollah were taken by surprise here. They weren't coordinated. Hassan Nasrallah has said that. We weren't told what was happening. We were taken by surprise. It wasn't until October 9th that we could begin to respond to what was happening. But he also said that we talked to Hamas and they said, we have this under control. We have a plan. We have this under control. But there's emotions. Anytime Palestinians and Israelis are engaged in a conflict, especially one where you have overwhelming casualties on the part of the Palestinians, there will be a tremendous amount of outrage amongst the Arab population or amongst the Muslim population. Outrage. And this outrage has to be controlled. You can't make it go away because it exists. So it has to be controlled. And that's what's happening with the attacks on the American bases in Syria and in Iraq. It's being managed. They attack them. We don't overreact. You notice we respond with our own attacks. Then they attack, we respond. The idea is to slow it down, not to allow it to blow up, because if we attack overwhelmingly, we could end up in a war with Iran. Iran doesn't want a war with the United States. Iran doesn't want a war with Israel. Iran, if everybody recalls, is looking forward to a future of economic prosperity. Iran just made good with Saudi Arabia through a Chinese brokered rapprochement. Iran is looking for a diplomatic solution, not a military solution. Iran is working for a ceasefire in Yemen. Iran is trying to stabilize the situation in Lebanon and in Syria. So Iran's not looking for a fight with Israel. This took them by surprise. So Iran's focus, remember, they joined BRICS. That's not a military alliance. That's an economic alliance. Right. They're members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. That's an economic organization. Iran's future is to break free of the chains of sanctions that have been imposed on Iran, to liberate their economy and allow the Iranian people to prosper. Any government that doesn't look out for the prosperity of their people is a bad government. The Iranian government is not a bad government, and they're not going to sacrifice the prosperity of the Iranian people for a Hamas provocation that Hamas didn't even talk to them about. The same thing with Hassan Nasrallah. Hezbollah is a political party, not just a movement of resistance. It is a political party that is committed to the betterment of Lebanon, the entirety of Lebanon. Why would Hassan Nasrallah throw that all away? All the work that Hezbollah has done in the course of the past decades to legitimize themselves as a political party in the eyes of the Lebanese people, to be seen as a party that is beneficial to all Lebanese. Why would he throw that away by attacking Israel blindly and opening Lebanon up to be destroyed the same way Gaza is being destroyed? That is not good leadership. That is bad leadership. Hassan Nasrallah has never been accused of being a bad leader. He is a good leader. So Hassan Nasrallah, together with Ibrahim Raisi in Iran, are working on escalation management, how to control all of this proclivity for violence, how to keep it under control so that Hamas can win their victory. If any of these things blow up, I can guarantee you that if Hezbollah comes across the border and invades Israel, there's a major war there, we will not be talking about Gaza anymore. We will not be talking about a Palestinian state. We will be talking about a larger conflict that gets into the existential survival of Israel. And that's a completely different debate. One of the reasons why Hamas can prevail on the global community right now is that they're talking about the creation of a Palestinian state. The world supports this. But the moment this becomes about the destruction of Israel, the world will not support this. So it's imperative to stay focused on the mission.
I like that. So that's why, because Nasrallah's last speech, a lot of people thought it was a little moderate and almost selfish, especially in the Middle Eastern community. You called it a genius speech that's going to go down in history as a genius speech. So from your point of view, is it genius just because it's focused on the main goal of Hamas, which is the Palestinian state, or is it genius because it's going to allow Nasrallah to live longer, to remain Hezbollah to stay for longer?
I think Hezbollah has shown and has earned its spurs, so to speak, as a resistance movement. And if anybody thinks that Hezbollah exists for selfish reasons like that, then they don't understand Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a resistance organization. Its fighters are extraordinarily well disciplined, and they've shown a willingness to sacrifice themselves in support of a cause worthy of that sacrifice. Okay, Hassan Nasrallah did not say that defending Hamas is not worthy of Hezbollah sacrifice. In fact, he has said that if Hamas is threatened with destruction, then Hezbollah will intervene. There will be a larger war. But he is not a man who is going to allow emotion to interfere with good policy. Hamas has defined a conflict. Hamas defined it, not Hezbollah. Hamas is the one who has determined what they want to achieve and how they're going to achieve it. And Hamas has said, we don't need you to intervene. Who is Hezbollah then to say, we don't care what you want, Hamas, we're going to intervene? Who is Hezbollah to say that? You can't be more Palestinian than the Palestinians.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay? And the same thing with Iran. Who is Iran to tell the Palestinian people, look, you are on the cusp of finally getting a Palestinian state, but because we are insulted by what Israel is doing, we will undo all of that to create a larger war where there will never be a Palestinian state. No. Hassan Nasrallah is a genius because he has taken an extremely complicated situation where the average human who is filled with outrage, if you remember, the fists are clenched.
Yeah. You can tell
the
that.
Fists are clenched, tears down the face.
Yeah.
About the deaths that are happening. This was Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin, the most rational actor, fists are clenched, tears because of the death of the Palestinian children who wouldn't want to intervene. But you have to be responsible. You have to pull back from the emotions and look at the reality of what you want to be the outcome to be. The best outcome for the Middle East is not the destruction of Israel, but the destruction of political Zionism.
Exactly.
The best outcome is not, the promotion of a Palestinian state that.
So with that being said, that was just a little sneak peek of Scott Ritter. He has very, very good insight of what's going on, and he agrees on one side, but he's also very non-biased, which I really appreciate. And he tries to paint a bigger picture of what's going on exactly. So with that being said, a lot of us knows something very special about certain current events, and this is because of the dreams that Muhammad Qasim has been getting. And these dreams point or shed a light into the future a little bit. And these dreams are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Because we know this because the most truthful people are the people who have the most truthful dreams. And many of his dreams have come true already. And the only thing left of prophethood is mubasharat. And the only thing, the Sahaba asked him, what is mubasharat? He said, true dreams. So with that being said, what's going to happen according to the dreams of the geopolitical structure would be one, that around April time, and this is my estimation and Allah knows best, that they're going to start building the third temple. And when they construct the third temple in what you would call Jerusalem itself, Allahu A'lam if they have to destroy the Aqsa Masjid to establish the third temple, or they can build around it. But once they start making the construction for that, we know that the Muslims will be up in arms and just in protesting against this. But we're not going to really do much except that. And then after that, from the dreams, there is going to be a great destruction that comes out of the base, right? So with that being said, is this the start of the Malhama of World War III? Allah knows best. We don't know. But I do want to shed some light into it that from the dreams, there's the three castles of Islam. The first one's Turkey, and we know that World War III begins when Turkey gets pulled into the war. And when they get pulled into the war, they're the first castle to fall. Following that is Saudi Arabia. Following Saudi Arabia, many of the Muslim countries align with the great superpowers, like a big proxy. And the proxy that happens between them is that there's going to be some people that align with Russia, other people that align with United States and their allies and the West and NATO alliance. And most of the wars that will be taking place in World War III are going to be proxy wars between the two superpowers in the Middle East region. And we know that the third castle is going to be some in the east, where Afghanistan, Pakistan region is. And this would be where most of the Muslims will go as a refugee into the camps, because their countries will be decimated, unfortunately. And this would be almost the end of World War III. And then there will be a peace treaty that emerges after World War III, after many, many deaths. And then following that, the peace treaty, the Dajjal does emerge. So the whole system is being set up right now for the Dajjal. And the Prophet said that the surah to protect you from the Dajjal, if anybody in the chat who is watching, can anybody in the chat tell me what surah does protect you from the Dajjal? That's the question. What surah protects you from the fitna of the Dajjal? And those who don't know what the Dajjal is, the Dajjal means the Antichrist. And the Prophet asked us that if you you should, if you happen to be alive during the time of the Antichrist, flee from him. Do not encounter the Antichrist. And if you happen to cross his path, recite the 10 verses of this specific chapter of the Quran would protect you from the Antichrist. If anybody in the chat, can you tell me which guys, if you guys are new to the channel and you haven't followed, please consider following and subscribing. And I really appreciate it. So Qasim PK says Muhammad Qasim's dreams fulfilled 2028 because Allah told Muhammad Qasim his dreams fulfilled over 13 years. 100%. Right? Very, very well said. Yes. So what's it called? So by 2028, that will be the end of the dream sharing work, and then the next stage of events will incur. I believe, and this is my opinion, I believe that 2028 is probably going to most likely be his bay'ah, because me and you probably both believe that he's going to be the Imam Mahdi, right? And with that being said, we know that the hadith says that the Imam Mahdi gets bay'ah between 51, 52, 53, which exactly aligns with the year of 2028. So he's currently right now, he's 48 years old, and next year is going to be 49, right? That's 2024, right? And then 2025, right? He's going to be 50, right? So that leaves it that 2028 is most likely the year of Bay'ah. So most likely that is going to be after Ghazwat Hind would have already taken place, maybe in 2028 or 2027. So he'll end up going to Mecca, and there he will flee from the helpers who would want to give him bay'ah around that time. And I believe that's the part. 2028 is when he'll get bay'ah. That means following that most likely count 7 years of peace treaty, right? So count 7 years around that, after that time, and then the emergence of the Dajjal will happen. So I don't know what the peace treaty like really entails for the helpers or the peace ever, because it's going to be 7 years, but we know that there's going to be the biggest calamity ever. So if we get too comfortable, it's not gonna be a good thing for the believers. I know we're going to be preparing for this, but ultimately I think the surah that does protect you against the Dajjal is Surah Al-Kahf, and the main reason is that the Muslims are going to have to flee from the Dajjal. Yes, we're going to fight his army against the army of the Dajjal, but to fight the Dajjal himself, it's going to be a big trial. And unfortunately, the Muslims will constantly lose the battles. Same reason we will constantly lose the battles in World War III until the end. Against the Dajjal himself, we will constantly lose the battles. So much so that the dream says that Muhammad Qasim goes to fight the Dajjal to like help up the rest of the army and keep the Dajjal away. And the Dajjal overpowers him, right? And he, Allah strikes him down, so he forgets, but he thinks that he kills Qasim. And by killing him, he he gets to rule now for 40 days with ease, enter every city, and there is no opposition, and the Muslims will be slaughtered left and right? Because you know you're going to be fighting an individual that you cannot defeat, right? So that means, and it was shown that 2.5 billion Muslims are killed. 2.5 billion. So if 2.5 billion are killed in the World War III events, World War IV events against the Dajjal, then my guess is going to be anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 believers who are going to be in the last camp with Isa ibn Maryam. That's my guess, and this comes from the dream of the train, that there's only a very set amount of space in that train when Ya'juj and Ma'juj will be unleashed. Does anybody have any questions for me? Any viewers have any questions for me? Let me know if you guys have any viewers, any questions. And if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. And I do want to continue. I'm going to edit the title of this. Let's see, Scott Ritter. And then, so let me know what you guys think. So with that being said, the point is, what we're trying to do is we're trying to shed light into the dreams. We're trying to bring awareness for the dream sharing work, and by doing this, we do believe that the events will unfold, and when they do unfold, we want this documented, one, because we want to say that we've told everybody about this prior hand, and second of all, the main message of all the dreams is to avoid shirk, right? Unfortunately, if you look up on this side, I have this picture of the duck, right? That's the logo of this event, of this the streaming service that I'm using, and I cannot remove it. But stuff like that should be avoided. When I'm gonna get the paid subscription, inshallah, coming within the coming weeks, and this logo on top left corner will be removed, right? And we should be putting an Islamic logo here, or no logo at all would be better. But we have to be very careful with having different images up, because this is not liked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the biggest thing for the Muslims, if we can avoid shirk and all of its forms and any type of images, right, of creatures, of living things, then this would be very pleased by Allah. Allah will love this a lot. And this is after the Muslims establish this, then the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come, and inshallah, all of us are wishing that the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come sooner than later. But individually, we have to work on ourselves individually, and then following that, we would have to do it on a state level as a ummah collectively, right? So yes, you work on yourself individually, because that's the most important thing. You will stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by yourself, but then eventually, if the ummah collectively wants help, then we have to rectify ourselves and our neighbors and our brothers and sisters together collectively, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help comes and showers upon us. Let me see. Okay. So Qasim Pakistan 313. Let me see. I'm gonna probably end this live in a bit. I do want you guys to come on the live with me next time, inshallah, and I want to have a video. Actually, before I end it, I'm gonna play this video, and I want to watch it together collectively. And I want to see if you guys your opinions on this. So let's play this. Okay, and then
by the Israeli government, which wants to is a matter of life or death. Legal or not, Israel controls the nearby heights, which gives it a tactical advantage over the periphery. By towering over its rivals, the Israeli army can stand its ground against numerically superior forces. For instance, from atop the Golan Heights, long-range artillery can inflict tremendous damage on any threat coming from Syria and Lebanon. The same argument is true for the other occupied heights. By controlling the high ground along the Jordan River, Israel can ensure the security of its eastern flank. So, although there is no legal validity to Israel's occupation of these strategic heights, without them, the state of Israel would be just one breath away from total destruction. Ergo, for the Israelis, a few angry resolutions at the United Nations are worth the strategic depth that the occupied territories provide. Remotely to the south is the third distinctive region, the Negev Desert. It is vast, arid, and sparsely populated. The Negev hosts only two notable locations, Eilat and Gaza, both located on the outskirts of the region. At the southern tip sits the port city of Eilat. It is Israel's sole access point to the Red Sea, and from there to global markets. Although Eilat sits outside the Israeli heartland, its strategic value is indispensable to the country overall. Its port allows the Israeli economy to bypass potential naval blockades in the Mediterranean should such a situation ever come to pass. Meanwhile, at the western tip of the Negev and adjacent to the Sinai Peninsula is the Gaza Strip. The terrain here is not dry, but Gaza falls under the same geographic definition nevertheless. The Strip is home to the Palestinians, with Gaza City marking its capital. The northern half of the Gaza Strip is one of the most densely populated places on Earth. However, the area holds little strategic value, and so it serves as a place of poverty and neglect. The humanitarian situation is made worse due to the restriction imposed by the Israeli government, which wants to restrain the flow of arms into the region. Either way, as a result of this abandonment, extremist ideologies and militias have taken root in Gaza. To the dismay of many, including the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, Hamas runs the show in the Gaza Strip. Elsewhere in the Negev, the region borders Egypt and Jordan, with Saudi Arabia located not too far away. The Egyptian front is especially worth mentioning, as the Negev Desert is directly connected to the Sinai Peninsula. The latter act simultaneously as a deterrent and a security risk. While the arid terrain of the Sinai has historically hindered the movement of armies due to supply restrictions, modern technology can overcome it. Should a sizable force cross through the Sinai desert, it would have a high degree of maneuverability in reaching the Israeli heartland. This threat, moreover, does not exclusively come from the Egyptians. The Sinai is an area difficult to control, even more so than the Negev, and so it serves as a shelter for heavily armed non-state actors. So, besides apprehensions over Egypt, the Israelis must also handle jihadists, smugglers, and dissidents who are using the Sinai as a safe haven. Ordinarily, nations can resolve their security shortcomings by forming alliances or multilateral agreements. Compromises can be made so long as the intentions are sincere. For Jerusalem, however, friends are few and far, and whatever treaties exist would be annulled at the first sign of opportunity. Should any of the Arab nations sense weakness on the Israeli part, they would likely act on it. That is precisely what happened in 1948 when Israel declared its independence from the British Mandate. Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen officially entered the conflict. In each of Israel's distinctive regions, worst-case scenarios unraveled. Egypt crossed the Negev desert in the first few days of fighting. In the Galilee, Syria used the Golan Heights to bombard Israeli settlements before launching its own invasion. Meanwhile, the Israeli heartland, namely the area surrounding Jerusalem, was under attack by the Jordanian Arab Legion. Still, not all Arab nations taking part in the conflict were equally committed, and the Israelis used that to their advantage. Through a combination of tactical excellence on the Israeli part and incompetence on the Arab part, Israel managed to secure an unlikely victory. However, that victory in 1948 was incomplete, so Israel began a process of solidifying its borders and searched for other means of deterrence, such as its nuclear missile program in the 1950s and 1960s. However, the neighboring states would not let go, and they could not. At the time, the Palestinian refugee crisis had reached its boiling point and triggered a wave of pan-Arab nationalism across the wider region. All the Arab nations began boosting their armies, and a new round of hostilities seemed inevitable. In 1967, that conflict came true, and it spilled over across all of Israel's distinctive geographic regions. Egyptian forces crossed from the west into the Negev desert, while Jordanian units launched attacks in Jerusalem from the east. Syria, meanwhile, launched artillery strikes against Israeli settlements in the Galilee region, and Lebanon conducted air raids on Israeli positions in the north.
No living being should ever eat processed.
You know, it's interesting. I just see these commercials, man, where like it said no living beings should eat processed food. Yet they're treating what's it called the Palestinian people in Gaza even worse than dogs, you man. So it's kind of sad when you're watching these videos, and then you have dog care, which of course you want the best for the animals, but when you have people who are being killed and children who are being killed left and right, and then yet you have a commercial for dogs and a dog should have cleaner food. The hypocrisy is absolutely crazy and it blows my mind. But let's get back to the video because I can talk about this forever.
It seemed that war resulted in yet another decisive Israeli victory, with Israel capturing all the strategic territories and heights, including the West Bank, Gaza, and the Golan Heights. By doing so, Israel created strategic depth for its heartland in Gush Dan. But Israel's victory on the battlefield had also demoralized the Arab governments to such an extent that it ushered in an era of instability in the Arab world. In turn, this gave the Israelis even more breathing room and diplomatic flexibility. More importantly, the victory in 1967 opened the door for a strategic partnership between Israel and the United States. Prior to this, Jerusalem and Washington had casual relations, but the Soviet support for the Arab states in the Six-Day War pushed Israel closer to the American camp. This newfound relationship would go on to be instrumental in bolstering Israel's national security. However, Israel's newfound triumph came with strings attached. Some of the territories acquired by Israel in the 1967 war were not under Israeli sovereignty. Moreover, the newly captured Gaza Strip and West Bank were populated by Palestinians who were anything but loyal to the Israeli state. This created a new crisis for Israel, a crisis that has lasted to the present day. Some 3 million Palestinians live in the West Bank, and 2 million more live in the Gaza Strip. In theory, a negotiated deal could see Israel live peacefully with its neighbors, including an independent Palestinian state. But theory is not good enough. The bad blood between Israelis and Palestinians runs deep, so much so that it is unlikely to fade away with the stroke of a pen. The Israelis believe that even if a peace agreement is signed, fundamentalist rhetoric like "from the river to the sea" will persist, implying a complete Arab takeover of Israel. After numerous existential conflicts with its neighbors, Israel is unlikely to let go of the strategic heights surrounding the West Bank. Mistrust isn't the only grievance preventing a peace deal. Even if both the Israeli and Palestinian leadership took a leap of faith and agreed to a negotiated peace deal, regional powers like Iran could still employ non-state actors to ruin the peace. It would be as easy as smuggling in weapons and provoking a false flag crisis. From the Israeli perspective, the Arabs and the Iranians can't be trusted. Therefore,
so we're going to continue this video and this live tomorrow. If you guys are coming across this channel, consider subscribing. We do want to bring it up to 1,000, and That will be our goal for a short term. So consider subscribing and consider sharing this video with others. And the channel, the live is what I'm doing, but the channel has a lot of really good stuff and really well made videos as well. Check out the Call of the Covenant channel as well. That's linked to my channel. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.